In 1985, the Japan animated series Robotech was released in the United States. The show, based on 3 different anime, Super Dimension Fortress Macross, Super Dimension Calvary Southern Cross, and Genesis Climber Mospedia, begins with the story of an alien ship that crashes on Earth. Humanity studies the wreckage, gaining knowledge of an energy source known as protoculture. However, a war breaks out as an alien race known as the Zentradi invades to reclaim the ship. That's as much as I know without going full wiki mode, as I never caught this show when it first aired. But it obviously was a big hit, spawning multiple series, animated films, and toys. However, one thing that did catch my eye was when the first major Robotech game was released, mostly due to the fact that everyone around me was talking about it at the time. Not counting, of course, all the Macross games to come out in Japan. Although this wouldn't be the first time that a Robotech game was talked about. The first attempt was back in 1998 when GameTech was developing Robotech Crystal Dreams for the Nintendo 64. It was to be a flight simulation game that will allow you to fly a transforming mech to various spots under attack, as well as complete missions for credits to upgrade your rig. Unfortunately, GameTech went bankrupt and the game was cancelled. Fast forward to 2002, and we have the first successful attempt at a Robotech game with Robotech Battlecry. Now, since I didn't know much about the series, I was kind of weary about playing it, but I was so intrigued by what I saw and all the hype surrounding it that I actually bought this day one when it came out. The collector's edition, no less. Unfortunately, I had to sell the game, and over time I lost a lot of those bonus trinkets, so this is more of a refresher course for me than anything else. But still, let's see if Battlecry actually answered the cries of Robotech fans hungry for a game. Taking place during the Macross Saga, you play as Pilot Jack Archer, experiencing his endeavors during the war, from his training in the Battle of Macross Island to the post-Reign of Death era defending against Zentradi forces. That's pretty much about it. From what I gather, it follows the show decently enough. Plus, I think it's cooler to play as an outsider looking in as opposed to a main character of the show, which now makes me want to hunt down and watch the show.
All the experienced pilots were dead. My government was desperate, and the draftees started getting younger and younger. I needed a way to escape all that misery on the ground, so I didn't mind much when I got drafted. Flight training came easy to me. It was like I was meant to be a pilot. They said I had a rare talent, but somehow I didn't see it that way.
Battlecry's gameplay is simple and to the point. As Jack, you must complete each mission's objectives in order to progress. These range from defeating all enemies to recovering supplies, defending outposts, and more. To do this, you must get the hang of your Veritech fighter and its transforming ability. Press of a button, you can change from Battleoid, equipped with a rifle that can snipe as well as hover, Guardian, that can fly, fire missiles, and grab items, and the Fighter mode, which is the fastest form and fires missiles and machine guns. Mastering these simple controls and completing missions quickly and accurately will net you different Veritech mechs and color schemes to equip, with the different models having varying stat boosts. Truthfully, I didn't have a problem with the game, save for some missions going a little bit longer than they should. Otherwise, Battlecry is a fun flight sim. Hell, you can even challenge a friend in 1v1 split screen if that's your thing. Visually, Battlecry is pretty good. The stages are bright and colorful enough, giving off an animated feel to them, with decent draw distance to boot, while the mechs themselves pull off the cell shading quite nicely. One thing that does bum me out though is the cutscenes. They're badly drawn in my opinion. I mean, you're coming from a show that has wonderfully drawn characters. I feel they could have sprung just a little bit more cash to get anime-style cutscenes. Well, what can you do?
Wasn't much they could do to help. Without the RDF support, we all knew that Zaral's army would soon overwhelm us and seize control of the wasteland. After completing repairs to his ship, Chiron was ready for a final assault on New Macross City. Zeral reported that his troops were also ready, and agreed to meet Chiron outside the city before the attack.
In the audio department, the music is well done, fitting the tone and pace of the dogfights taking place, with the Robotech theme thrown in for good measure. For voice acting, they got the actors that portrayed the main characters from the show, as well as Cam Clark, who you may know as Leonardo from the original Ninja Turtles, and Liquid Snake from Metal Gear Solid, to play Jack Archer. In other words, great casting choices here.
It seems I owe my defeat largely to your interference, Jack Archer. You have managed to best my finest warriors. I congratulate you for that. But now, my fortune has suddenly changed, I think. Even if you manage to win this battle, you shall surely die with me, here in the vacuum of space. We're too far from your dead little world to have any hope of returning.
Yeah? If that's what it takes to kick you off my planet, then so be it.
Robotech Battlecry is a fun and fantastic game that I would recommend to anyone, even if you've watched the anime or not. Being able to transform into a mech with 3 different forms is always fun to do, and with its cheap, affordable price, pick it up when you can. It's definitely worth it. Now, I'd end the video there, but Vicious Cycle was not done with the franchise, as 2 years later we got Robotech Invasion. Now, this one's based on the New Generation series, so again, I have no idea what that is. Plus, I've never played this game before, so we're both going into it with fresh eyes. So, let's see how well this actually holds up. As mentioned, Invasion's story takes place during the New Generation part of the Robotech Saga, where the Robotech Expeditionary Force returns to Earth to take the planet back from the alien invaders known as the Invid. You play as a member of that crew who decides to rush the Invid base, resulting in getting knocked out. 4 years later, he wakes up in the back of a truck and discovers that the war is still being waged. Without his memory, he dons the armor and name of a fallen soldier named Locke. After meeting up with the squad in town, Locke agrees to help them take out the Invid and free Earth once and for all. Again, coming from someone who's never watched Robotech, the story of Invasion, while decent, just isn't as engaging as Battlecry's. Now granted, you do play a new character made for each game in both, but Jack Archer seems to be a more engaging character than Locke, kind of making you want to see what happens to him next. It also doesn't help that Locke went to the Gordon Freeman School of Acting and doesn't really talk, except for flashbacks. Invasion's gameplay does a complete 180 from that of Battlecry, opting for a first/third-person shooter this time instead of a flight sim. Like any shooter of this era, namely Halo, you progress through each stage blasting humans and Invid with a small variety of weapons, while assisting your squad to advance the story. The big catch here is that instead of controlling a Veritech mech, your power armor can transform into a motorcycle, capable of faster movement and firing homing missiles. Mastering this switch is essential for many reasons, the biggest one being there's no run button. While normally I wouldn't see that as a big problem, it doesn't help that Locke runs very slowly, making for long treks across the map. Yes, the cycle alleviates that in some areas, but the minute you walk into any tunnel, you're forced to walk. Next is the lock-on. Holding the left trigger will lock onto enemy Invid, allowing you to shoot off their arms or go for headshots, as well as showing you how much health they have left. While this is nice, I can't for the life of me understand why you can't lock onto the human enemies. It makes no sense, as being able to lock onto enemies that genuinely move a lot faster than the Invid would be beneficial, but again, these are just my nitpicks. Lastly, I'll sort of mention multiplayer. It's your basic deathmatch and capture the flag modes. However, I wasn't able to play any of it as it's only system link and online, and I'm still having trouble setting up X-Link. I can only assume that it's played very similar to the single player mode though. Visually, Invasion isn't as vibrant as Battlecry, with muddy textures and colorless environments. But I can't fault them for that, as I'm pretty sure that's what the developers were going for. This is supposed to be Earth after being invaded by an alien insect force, so the dark muted colors work here. The same could be said for the characters. The armors look dinged up and dirty, going for a heavily used look. Overall, looking like crap actually works out in this game's favor.
Factory somewhere in the swamp. Sam and Clay could have ended up there. Arturo, go on ahead and scout out the best way through this mess. The rest of us will stay back. We can't afford to lose anyone.
For music, the developers hired the talents of composer Jesper Kyd, and he brings an awesome electronic score to the table, as well as having that iconic Robotech theme here and there. Meanwhile, the voice cast does an alright job. Not much else to say on that, really.
Hi, I'm Guppy. No cracks about the name, please. So, the old man sent you, huh? Yeah, I can fix your Cyclone real good. Turbo boosters are my specialty. Only problem is, my tools were stolen by the Skulls. Those bullies! He's probably using them right now at his hideout. He better not scratch them up. Anywho, if you can get my tools back, I'll have your Cyclone up to speed in no time.
Robotech Invasion is a completely different experience from Battlecry, and while it's still a fun game to play, I'd recommend Battlecry over it if you can only choose one. Whereas Battlecry was a fun, frantic action flight shooter, Invasion's just a Halo clone with the ability to turn into a motorcycle. Again, I must stress this is the opinion of someone who's never watched Robotech before, so I'm not familiar with the plots these games are taken from. But as games, I feel they're both good attempts to give the fans that Robotech experience. Battlecry just does a better job at it. The good news though is that if you want both, they're decently priced. Unless you're going for the collector's edition of Battlecry, then that will set you back some bones. Now, as far as other games, there were two others in the Robotech series that were released, both being shooters. Around the same time that Battlecry came out, Robotech the Macross Saga was released for Game Boy Advance. And in 2007, there was Robotech the New Generation for mobile phones, and that was pretty much it. I doubt there will be any more games based on Robotech, as there have been legal issues surrounding the series for a long time. But I've always learned to never say never. And with that, this is the Dolly Poppy saying, stay green everybody, and I'll see you next time.